Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Roland Bullivant, and I'm very pleased and delighted to have you all listening and watching this webinar, Liberating Microsoft Dynamics Metadata. What we're going to do today is really show you a different approach to solving the problem associated with accessing and understanding metadata in Microsoft Dynamics AX particularly, but generally in large application packages. The topics we're going to cover this afternoon, we're going to talk about the metadata challenges associated with packages and talk a little bit about metadata, but not at huge length, as this is more of a session to really explore how Sapphire can help you understand Microsoft Dynamics metadata, and then we will show you a demonstration of Sapphire working with AX. If you would like to ask questions, there is a questions box in the webinar panel, and we'll be happy to answer them either as we go or at the end. There's no quiz or anything, so feel free to ask questions as you see fit. So why is metadata important? Well, metadata helps to unlock the value of metadata in applications of all sorts. And Gartner say that it requires management attention so that organizations can get the best value out of their data by understanding their metadata. And it's used and required across a very wide range of projects and initiatives, anything from data warehousing, application integration, data migration, data governance, data quality, application consolidation, anything where an understanding of the foundation of your applications is important, would require an understanding of the metadata, the foundation, if you will, the map, the data model that underpins that system. Of course, some metadata is easier to find and understand and access than others. Not all metadata is equal. And there's a variety of different approaches that you might take to finding and understanding the metadata in your systems. There may be some documentation, which hopefully would be available and up to date. You may be able to ask a technical specialist or engage perhaps external consultants if that's an appropriate way forward. You might need to you might be able to you might be able to access some tools from your vendors and use some of their own consultants. Modeling tools such as Irwin, ER Studio, Power Designer, etc. are very good at reverse engineering systems. Then you have technologies such as bridges and connectors and templates which allow some access into systems, or you might actually end up looking at internet search and guesswork. And most of these sorts of approaches are quite good at when you're looking at smaller applications, so applications with a very limited scope for a data model in terms of numbers of tables and how those tables are laid out and how much detail those tables provide you on first inspection. They work well with modeling tools, for example, would work well reverse engineering just a relational database system. If you'd built an application for your organization using a modeling tool to reverse engineer, that would work very well. Social media, typically looking at things like Twitter, Facebook, etc. There, LinkedIn, their metadata is relatively straightforward to understand, and indeed you can do an internet search and find the metadata relevant for all of those. And again, for machine data, sensor data, things like that. So typical, all of those types of applications where metadata is well specified, it's easy to find, it's easy to understand, and it's relatively quick to access and use. However, package applications from Microsoft, SAP, Oracle, increasingly Salesforce and the like, have some characteristics that mean that those traditional metadata approaches don't really work. They're not particularly effective in trying to help you navigate and understand the metadata behind or underneath a packaged application such as Dynamics AX. So, for example, typically they have a very large data model. Packages fulfill a number of business functions, so they have a large and complex data model. So Microsoft AX has around about 7,000 or 8,000 tables. SAP has around about 90,000 tables, and I'm sure you can appreciate it would be completely inappropriate to try to reverse engineer a relational database with that number of tables with a modeling tool, because it would be impossible to navigate them, and even if they had information in those data models that was of value. Typically as well, that metadata, those business names which make sense of the information, the relationships between tables, the primary and foreign key constraints, they're not actually held within the database itself. They are often or normally held elsewhere within the application layer. So you need to access a different set of tables to be able to access the metadata. Finally, the characteristic of package applications to be very heavily customized means that any sort of reference model that you might be able to find, or any documentation that you might be able to find, means that it's highly likely to be out of date. Templates, reference models are not likely to actually reflect what you have in your own system. So all in all, you're faced with a challenge of trying to find metadata that is difficult to access unless you know where to look in a very large and complex environment. And none of those traditional methods are very effective at doing that. You can spend a lot of money on external consultants and a lot of time and effort with internal technical specialists trying to find metadata, or you can try to search for data models online, which again can be rather risky and not necessarily provide information that's of any value. So what package application metadata needs is something a bit different. It needs a specific product set that would enable customers to be able to find and access and use that information much more quickly and easily than using traditional methods in order to help deliver projects and data-led initiatives on time. And some of the needs, some of the basic requirements that you would think you would probably want to be able to achieve with such a product is to be able to discover that metadata in those packages automatically, obviously include customizations, and then be able to put that metadata somewhere so that a data analyst, a data architect, for example, can easily navigate and search and scope to find just the right tables for the task they have at hand, and then be able to visualize that in a data model perhaps, and if you have more than one application, to be able to compare data models between applications, and then take the results of that scoping, that discovery exercise, and share that with other products, so it doesn't so you can use that information with other tools and technologies. And that's exactly what Sapphire does. Sapphire provides what you could call application metadata intelligence, or cataloging for application metadata, whichever way you want to look at it. However, what Sapphire does is it extracts, it discovers metadata by extracting it from the source application, from wherever that source application stores it, including customizations, and then brings that information into a repository where the user, the data analyst, the data architect, who does not need to be a technical specialist with deep knowledge of the application and its data model, can navigate and analyze and move around and find the information they need using typically text-based searching and filtering techniques, and then visualize that information, perhaps share it with colleagues. And the whole process, the whole the whole premise of Sapphire is that it delivers cost and time saving and additional productivity, as well as additional accuracy over traditional methods of trying to find metadata in big packages. And it's used in big data, in data integration, data migration projects. It's used to enhance data governance and enterprise architecture, master data application consolidation, etc. And obviously, with all of the main with all of the focus on metadata management now from organizations like Gartner, it's used to provision many of the leading metadata management suppliers. So not only does it deliver that cost time saving, that extra productivity, but Sapphire doesn't live in a vacuum technically. The information that you glean from your metadata repository can be shared and communicated to other products, other applications, to make that process as seamless as possible. So, for example, it's very easy to export Sapphire information to be used in ASG Technologies data intelligence solution, to use with data warehousing solutions, to use with enterprise data modeling tools such as Irwin and ER Studio and Power Designer, and for them to use that information with how they share their data. So, for example, if you're a SAP Business Objects customer and you have one of the packages on the left, you can use Sapphire to scope that metadata, find the tables you need for your Business Objects universe, export that into Power Designer, and then export from Power Designer to create a Business Objects universe in a very short space of time. So it doesn't live in a vacuum. It's a product that sits within an information architecture platform, helping provision metadata from those complex, hard to reach areas in your application packages. So originally, the history of Silwood is that we've been doing this for a number of years, and we started off with SAP, with JD Edwards, Siebel, PeopleSoft, eBusiness Suite, etc., and then Salesforce, and most recently, two reasons behind our development of Sapphire for Microsoft Dynamics. Firstly, the growth of Microsoft in the package application market. I think they now have something approaching a 10% market share in that market. So obviously they are a growing and major player in the application market for ERP and CRM systems. So that's one reason why we would obviously want to support Microsoft. But the other reason was we were receiving customer inquiries, customer requests for us to be able to deliver the same type of functionality as we do for the other packages for Microsoft Dynamics, for customers who are using it to deliver fast ERP solutions across their businesses. And so that's why we developed the product. And the connection from Sapphire to Microsoft Dynamics metadata is via API. We retrieve all the business and technical names. You'll see all this in a minute when my colleague takes over and does a quick demonstration. You see the tables, the fields, customizations, the relationships between tables, the primary and foreign keys, and then all of the normal Sapphire navigation and search capabilities to allow you to find what you need to create what we call subject areas, which are subsets of the metadata that are meaningful for you, and then to export that information out to a variety of different technologies. And for those of you who may not have heard of us before, we have a long history of working with large organizations, so we do understand the challenges of working with application metadata, and these are a few of the customers we've worked for. The reason I put this slide up is because many organizations have not heard of us before, so having some confidence that we've done this before, and that we're used to working with metadata and used to implementing Sapphire with customers for working with their complex metadata packages is normally helpful. Just to give you some ideas of some of the comments and benefits that some of our customers find. This was a gentleman called Brian Farish when he worked at A&D. He was working with Sapphire for SAP around data governance, really trying to find how the data model was was structured in order to improve their data governance projects. And really, the reason I put this slide up was because he knows that in the past he has not been as productive as he might have been by using some of those traditional manual methods of trying to find SAP metadata or metadata in any package, to be honest. So he was grieving for the lost years without access to his product, to this tool, he said. Slightly more focused here was an organisation in Australia, Hydro Tasmania, who used Sapphire to help them deliver their BI project on time by using it to find the metadata in their source applications, so that their BI team, their data analysts, were able to very quickly and easily find the source of the data they needed for their business objects project, and to be able to react very quickly to changes and the need for new business for new information from business managers, and so that they were able to reduce, or actually I think eliminate, the backlog of reports, and to be able to deliver information on time that could be trusted, because they could always point to the source of that data. And this was a large data migration project, organization looking to implement a new ERP solution. They used Sapphire to help them understand the underlying data structures and the data models into which they needed to put data from legacy applications into their new system. So just a few use cases there of how Sapphire is used. There's many others, many other ways in which the product can be of value. And really, the summary is here. Sapphire is a product that's whole raison d'etre, its whole reason is to shorten time to project value and cut the cost of data or metadata discovery, whilst at the same time improving the accuracy with which you can deliver your applications and reduce the risk of the wrong or inaccurate data getting into your information ecosystem. And it does that by giving control of this discovery process to data professionals, because they are the people that know what they need and when they need it, and to be able to give them that, giving them that control means that they can deliver these projects more quickly, more accurately, without having to rely on other traditional, more manual methods. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Nick Porter, who's going to take you through the product, and then I'll come back towards the end of the session and just wrap up very quickly. Thank you very much. Talk to you in a minute.
Thanks very much, Roland. My name's Nick Porter, and what I'm going to do is just take you through a quick demonstration of the product. I'm going to switch into the Sapphire environment now, and some of you will be perhaps familiar with this initial look of how Sapphire presents its metadata. One of the advantages of using the product is that a lot of the features are identical regardless of the package type you're working with. Not many of you will have seen Dynamics AX 2012 capability, because it's very new, which is really why we're having this session. So as Roland says, we reverse engineer the Dynamics AX system using the Microsoft Metadata API. So we connect through to the source system, we reverse engineer it, and then the way that we go about exploring the results is very similar to the other systems like SAP and Salesforce that we can support. So I'm going to start off with this view of the metadata, and this is a list of all the tables that we've reverse engineered from the Dynamics system. This is actually Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 Release 3 that we're looking at here, and it's largely a standard system. We don't run Dynamics, as a company. We really only have each of the applications for development purposes. So the metadata we're looking at here is a standard set of tables and attributes and relationships. And if you look to the bottom of the screen, you can see there are just over 7,000 tables in this system, so a lot smaller than something like SAP with 90,000 tables, but still quite a substantial number of tables if you're not very familiar, with what each of these tables means. If you look at that first column, you'll see what we call the technical name for the table, the name that you would expect to find if you looked in the physical database. If you looked in the underlying SQL Server database for Dynamics, you would see table names like that. The slightly more friendly descriptive name is in this second column. We'll talk about the other columns in a minute. If there were any custom tables added, so if you've customized your Dynamics system, added your own tables, added your own attributes, then when we did the extraction, we would get those as well. You would get not just the standard set of tables. The actual extraction itself takes about 30 minutes, something like that, to pull all the metadata into the Sapphire repository. So let's use these fields along the top to do a very simple query. What we're going to do, we're going to look at any of those descriptive names, and we're going to, I don't know why, typing on the wrong keyboard here. We're going to see any of the tables that have got the string customer in the beginning of their description. So we'll do a search, and you can see then it's brought the set of 7,000 tables down into about 138 tables. So there's 138 tables with the string customer at the beginning. Now we can look at some of these other details. So you'll see that these two columns, number of child tables and number of parent tables, this shows us how many tables are directly related to each table in the list. So let's go down to this one, the customer bank accounts. It's got 12 child tables and 5 parent tables. So it receives foreign keys from 5 tables, and it gives its primary key as a foreign key to 12 other tables in the Dynamics system. So let's look at that particular table in a bit more detail. We double click on it. Again, we've got the physical name for the attribute is in this first column. The slightly more descriptive name, let's widen this window a little bit, is in this column. The first 4 attributes make up the primary key, you can see. And then there's a set of foreign keys. So these little green relationship symbols here indicate a foreign key. This one, for instance, is to the currency code. And when we do have a foreign key, if we look up to this panel here at the top right, we can see where that foreign key is coming from. And not surprisingly then, given it's the currency code, this is the parent table in this relationship is to the currency table. And if I was to click on this little blue icon here, show parent table details, I will go up the relationship, and I'm now looking at the parent currency table, the parent currency code table itself with its own set of attributes. So let's go back to the list of tables now. And another thing we can do, we can sort this result set by any of these columns. And one of the ways that I like to do this is we can sort it in a descending number of child-related tables. So if we do this, then what you find is that the tables with the most child relationships come to the top of the list. So you can see there that a table called customers with 271 child tables has come to the top, and it's got 56 parent tables. And again, we could drill into that table, look at the structure, lots of foreign keys on this particular table. So this is really the main customer table on in the dynamic system, and that we can tell that partly because it's a parent to so many other tables. You know, if you just think about it, you know, it's a main customer table. It's going to be referenced by lots of other things. So what we could do now is we can look at the relationships in a bit more detail. We can pull this window up, and we can look at the parent tables at the top and the child tables at the bottom. So the things that supply a foreign key are at the top, and the child tables are at the bottom, and we can scroll through these child tables looking for other things of interest. So you know, we'll see all sorts of interesting, potentially interesting tables here. If we perhaps go down a bit further, you know, we'll see things like sales order is here somewhere, is one of these tables, or yeah, here's a sales order line, for instance. So you imagine if you are entering a sales order, you're going to have to tell it which customer that particular order is for. So now it looks like I found, if I was trying to scope the customer area of Dynamics, it looks like I found an important table. So I now might want to start recording the results of my research, if you like. And to do that, we have the concept of a subject area. That's a concept we can use for any of the application packages we support. And a subject area is a means to create subsets of the 7,000 tables into more manageable groups. So if I open up this window here, which is the subject area editor, we actually deliver with the product a set of pre-built subject areas. You can see some of them listed here. So these are popular groupings of tables by function. So as you can see, there's accounts payable, there's budgeting, there's human resources, and you'll see the tables which make up that area over on the right here. There's retail, sales and marketing. So we can pre-deliver these. Gives you a sort of head start if you wanted to really focus on that particular area of the dynamic system. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make my own. I'm going to create my own subject area, which I'm going to call customer tables. And I'm just going to take a bunch of these tables here, these customer tables. I'm going to take the first sort of few tables, and I'm going to add those to that subject area. So I've made a little Venn diagram, if you like, of customer tables. And one of the things I can do with the subject area is I can export it into some of the environments that Roland talked about. So I'm going to take the customer table. You can see last time I used this, I was working with the compliance and internal controls area. So I'm actually going to remove that because I only want the customer tables. And then I can export it into any of these environments. Roland mentioned that we can support a number of the most popular data modeling tools, things like Power Designer and ER Studio and Irwin. we can push it into an XML format or a CSV format. But we also have a built-in diagramming capability of our own. We call the Sapphire ER diagrammer. It's very simple, but it's sometimes quite a nice way to get a quick initial view of what the contents of the model will be like. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a model in the ER diagrammer based upon the set of entities and attributes I've selected. And you can see that this is now being produced. Let's just do a high-level view, and you can see in common with lots of ERP applications, a lot of these tables have got, you know, a very large number of attributes. So one of the things I can do is I can change this to only show primary and foreign keys. And I find this is often a nice way to get an initial view of you know, what the sort of meaning of this data model is. You could just basically seeing the primary and foreign keys and the entities themselves. And at the moment I've got things like data typing switched on, so I could take that off. So I'm just seeing the attribute names. And if we were to make a model like this in something like Irwin or Power Designer, then the style of it would be very different, but the content and meaning would be very, very similar. So often the sort of result of using Sapphire is you end up with a series of these subject areas, different groupings of tables which reflect different business concepts, different business artifacts, if you like. I'm not really going to have time to show it today, but another way that you can use the subject area concept is to compare metadata from different instances. So you could take tables and relationships from two different instances of Dynamics. It might be different implementations, or it might be perhaps a development and a production system. You can take metadata from two disparate systems, do a comparison, and understand the differences. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you in terms of product. I hope that's been enlightening and makes some sense. And I'm now going to just pass over back to Roland, who's going to wrap up the session. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Nick. Very informative. And obviously, I'd just like to wrap up now with the last couple of slides. I hope that showed you just how quickly it is possible to get access to and then start to make sense of metadata in large packages, not only Dynamics AX. And what we find and what our customers find is that Sapphire can help to reduce the time and the cost, or increase the productivity of that task, that metadata discovery task, by often about 90%. So it's extremely effective as a product for enabling this metadata discovery to be done quickly, efficiently, and most importantly, accurately. So I don't think there are any questions on the questions box as we come to the end of the session. Just in terms of what you may or may not want to do next, if this has been of interest and you would like to repeat this to your own, to a group of colleagues, please contact us. We'd be more than happy to set up a workshop or a demonstration in order to do that. There's also some other opportunities you may have to explore Sapphire in more detail. You can go onto our website. On the top right-hand corner of the home page, there's the ability to request and download an evaluation copy of Sapphire. That comes with the ability to load in full sample metadata repositories for all of the packages we support, including Dynamics AX. Or you can request specific data models, or if you just want to start a conversation with us, we're more than happy to have that conversation with you. So once again, my name is Roland Bullivant, and I was joined by Nick Porter. Our contact details are here. This session has been recorded, and we will make it available to people who registered for the session very shortly. If you want the slides, they will be available, but please drop us an email or send us a note via the website, and we'll be delighted to send you the slides for this presentation. So other than that, thank you very much, and we're now going to close the meeting.